Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. World stock markets are crashing and Bitcoin has had its less volatile month in years. We're going to talk about all the news headlines and what is going on with all these different markets. Now, it's a pretty historic week. On the 31st of October, Satoshi did release that white paper to the world 10 years ago. So it's only 9 pages with 1 page of mathematics and 1 page of references. So 7 pages of content. Be sure to read that if you haven't already, guys. He didn't know he was going to change history, but he has certainly made us question what is money and how we exchange value between one another. So a bit of housekeeping. Jimmy Song is coming to Australia. We are going to have a private steak dinner with Jimmy. We'll be up there in Sydney, so if you're a Bitcoin developer or you're interested, be sure to check out that offering on Blockchain Australia. It is your last week to get your tax return sorted unless you're registered with a tax agent in Australia. So if you need that extra time up until May, be sure to get registered. We do have our discount with Crypto Tax Australia. Head to nuggetsnews.com.au if you want more info on that, guys. Okay, so world stock markets, worst month since the GFC. The AFR here saying it's because of Donald Trump and the trade wars, but there's so many reasons, as you guys know. Rising interest rates, overvalued tech stocks. The Fed has been rapidly raising short-term interest rates, and there's a lot of sort of fear in the bond market. We see rates lower in emerging markets. In Australia, the Reserve Bank haven't raised rates, so it really does put strains on all these different markets that have trillions of dollars sloshing around in them. And a lot of this money's borrowed. A lot of people have borrowed money to buy back their own stocks and so on. So this is what happens, guys. This is a monthly chart of the Nasdaq. It's up 600 or 700% from the lows in the GFC. Now, we have had big sell-offs before, bit of panic in 2015 here. The buyers did step in to form a nice sort of hammer candle there. So there's a few days of trading left in the month. Let's see if the buyers come in, but it's not a pretty picture on the technicals, guys. If we look at the daily chart here, let's get those indicators up. Well below the 200-day moving average. That was just that dead cat bounce at the 200-day. If we break these lows again here, it's going to cause a lot of panic as well. So I don't think that this is the crash that everyone's been fearful of. Yes, things are overvalued. There's a lot of uncertainty, but guys, there's still so much money on the sidelines. And I think this is the first time in stock market recent history where the Fed hasn't had stock markets back. They've been aggressively raising rates. So I'm looking to see if the Fed come out and show any sort of sign of backpedaling, saying, oh, look, guys, maybe we won't raise rates as fast, and markets are going to like that and take off pretty quickly if they get that sort of news. So let me know what you guys think. Personally, I did sell a lot of stocks over the last few months and freed up a bit of money to dollar cost average and put into crypto. So do you guys think we're going lower? Do you think this is the start of the bear market? Or personally, I think that I'd be looking to make a bit of money on the way down, but I think there is going to be a buy the dip opportunity coming. Whether that's now or whether it's another week or two on the downside, I don't think this is the big mother of all crashes that everyone's waiting for. And I know that the temptation is to think that the world's ending when you go down the rabbit hole and learn about banks and debt and money. But trust me, guys, there's YouTube channels and individuals out there that have been chanting crash, crash, crash every year for 10 years, and now they'll tell you that they were right, that they called it because we've had one bad month. So make sure you have a mix of individuals who you trust to get all your information from. So money doesn't die and go to money heaven, as I said last week. 8 trillion has left equity markets. Does that mean it's on the sidelines? Is some of that going into Bitcoin? Because this pattern is now unnatural. Whether you want to call it manipulation or not, as someone that's watched the Bitcoin charts very closely for years, what we're seeing at the moment is not natural. We'll talk about that once we get to the charts, but is this the big guys accumulating behind the scenes? Elon Musk has been talking about crypto again. I'd love for him to go out and accept crypto for Teslas, as CZ tweeted this week as well. So as these big tech companies, Facebook, Google, they've all had a downgrade in profits and whatnot, they're going to look for that next way to improve, to increase profits. Is it going to come from blockchain? If we accept Bitcoin off all these millionaires around the world for our Teslas, are they all going to buy and increase our revenue and so on? So it's going to be interesting to see who makes the first move, because Elon is, pretty open-minded. We know that Bitcoin and crypto is on his radar. A lot of these big crypto companies also want to make that move into the tech stock market world. So I've spoken before about this Coinbase IPO. Rand Nunes saying here that it's going to be an exclusive on his CNBC Crypto Trader show. There's rumors that the valuation would be around $8 billion. Bitfury as well, so Bitmain doing an IPO, Bitfury now. These are highly profitable companies, guys, that have matured and they want to get listed. They want to get on the stock market. There's more regulation now. This is just all improving legitimacy, and we continue to see big names like Sony. If they put out a hardware wallet, getting more people into crypto means they sell more hardware wallets. So all of a sudden, all this infrastructure and people building, or in the backgrounds, they want people to get into crypto. They don't want it to be seen as a bubble that's popped and so on. So it's very funny how quickly sentiment can change once all these guys know they're going to make money from selling you a hardware wallet, collecting fees, being a custodian for institutions and so on. And that's when they start to collect and get their piece of the pie. Okay, on to the Ripple news. So, woman in Australia arrested for stealing 65 grand of Ripple. I did see Ripple had sold 160 million of Ripple tokens recently. So if you're a Ripple holder, that's what you want. Increase use case for that XRP token. But lots of competition. I've spoken about Ripple at length. Beware of scams, guys, as well. There's so many going around, whether it's in Australia or whatnot. We've spoken about them before. Hold on to your private keys. Don't get stung is the lesson here. Michael Clark was promoting this ICO, Global Tech, and I remember thinking at the time, this is not a good look. It just reminds me of when Paris Hilton was promoting an ICO and so on. So $50 million ICO, this was shut down by ASIC. I think they've shut down about a dozen ICOs off the top of my head now, guys. So they are out there, trying to stop those ICOs that were, breaking the rules, I guess, is the easiest way to say that. Okay, on to Power Ledger. So a lot of questions this week around what's this new token, this asset germination event token. So if you follow Power Ledger closely and you have actually read the white paper, you'll know that this was always on the cards, and this was something that I've been very excited for. So asset germination is funding of renewable energy projects, and the token behind that is a security token that represents your ownership in funding that project and owning a fraction of it. So this is great. This isn't them just saying, oh, we're not worried about power, or Power Ledger's not doing what we wanted it to, guys. This was always on the roadmap. Read this Medium article. The Power token is the platform that will run, and it will run on some of these renewable assets that get funded. So there's a Spark token as well. Make sure you have your head around all three of those, because they do work together. There's no surprises here. They won that Necker Island challenge last week for a reason, guys. Zcash. Okay, so Zcash coming out and saying that they're going to upgrade, more privacy, lighter transactions, faster transactions. This is all great. Last week we saw Monero implement bulletproofs. All these technologies are bleeding edge, and if they are implemented and they go down well, it's great for those privacy coins. But I did a video a few weeks ago saying that Bitcoin and Ethereum will be private in the next 12 to 24 months. Now, they can implement these technologies. Bitcoin has been looking at bulletproofs. Ethereum is implementing ZK snarks, and as these further upgrades come along, if they go down smoothly on these smaller cap coins, they can be implemented in some of these larger cap coins. So this is all part of the plan, guys. It's fantastic that these privacy coins continue to pave the way. Ethereum is going to be the blockchain behind a Bitcoin-based token. So I want to explain this in the easiest to understand terms for you guys. So what is WBTC? If you've watched a lot of my tutorials, you've heard me talk about wrapped Ethereum, where Ethereum itself isn't an ERC20 coin or token. So to run it through exchanges and smart contracts and meet all those criteria of an ERC20, we have to wrap it. And don't overcomplicate things, guys. That's all that's happening here. So just like we have a gold-backed token that has 1 gram of gold sitting behind each token that's in ERC20 format, we now have 1 Bitcoin sitting behind each WBTC token on the Ethereum blockchain, and this has the ERC20 properties, so it can be used in smart contracts, in apps, on exchanges and so on. So this isn't replacing Bitcoin. Bitcoin and proof of work is so important. I've done plenty of videos about that. But if this can utilize Bitcoin in those apps and and whatnot, then hey, maybe it allows for some new functionality that otherwise wouldn't have been possible. So interesting. Let's see where this one goes. The Constantinople hard fork has been pushed back until January. So last year, this was meant to be a two-part hard fork that would happen a few months apart. They have had those issues, as I've spoken about, guys. It didn't go smooth on all the different types of clients on that Romston testnet the other day. They've put it back. Ethereum do want to move fast and break things, but there's no point rushing it if they had those issues. I'm really looking forward to this hard fork and a few of those changes that they're implementing. Make sure you check out that video I did about the hard fork if you're not sure what that contains in the way of upgrades. On to the big news for the week. So this tweet from CN Ledger, make sure you're following them on Twitter. There was a decision by a Chinese court ruling that Bitcoin is protected by law as property. So I won't go into the details of this case, but this is big news. And a few days later, only hours ago, we saw that Chinese merchants are legally allowed to accept Bitcoin and crypto. So often on a Sunday, Australian time, you've heard me say this news isn't digested. It doesn't often get priced in to the following hours when the US and Europe wake up, or even till Monday when everyone can make their moves and have access to their accounts and so on. So this potentially is huge news. In 2017, when Japan came out and said, yes, we're making Bitcoin legal tender in our country, that ignited that rally from Bitcoin being in the 1,000s, all the way to 20,000 at the end of the year. So who knows if this is determined to be really important news by the market, but at the moment, it's going to take something big to move the prices out of that confined range. Also, Andreas Antonopoulos' Mastering Bitcoin was mentioned on Chinese news, and that book continues to be translated into several languages. And so, the more people that read about Bitcoin, the better. And Mastering Ethereum is out very soon as well by Andreas. Into the stablecoin news. So Tether destroying $500 million. Some people saying, oh, look, see, I told you, they're insolvent or whatever. As people move out of Tether and into crypto or into other stablecoins, Tether should remove Tether from circulation. This is all part of it functioning normally. So I'm not going to defend Tether because they should be more transparent in a perfect world. But at the same time, there's so many stablecoins in competition. It's in their best interest to be seen to be better than Tether. So USDC isn't Coinbase's stablecoin, guys. I've spoken about this. It was created by Circle, and they're now partnering up with Coinbase and Coinbase Pro. Look, I've spoken at length. I've done my ultimate stablecoin, guys. I'm not going to say anymore. You guys know that I'm not a fan of fiat-backed, banked-backed coins and so on. There's so many better options out there now. To me, they're really not true cryptocurrencies at all if we're relying on banks and putting our trust in all these other parties. So speaking of putting your trust in other parties, a decentralized exchange is now blocking certain IP addresses. So this is not the meaning of decentralized. Personally, why would you use these exchanges if there's a risk of them acting on, government or central authorities saying that, hey, block that person or freeze that account and so on? That is not a true decentralized exchange. So it'd be interesting to see if this happens, if other exchanges follow suit, and which decentralized exchanges truly are run by their nodes collectively around the globe, and there's no central business or individual you can send a letter to and say, hey, block those people in New York or freeze that account, because that's what we've seen is possible with the account freezes of some stablecoins and some decentralized exchanges. Now, this video I did during the week, I thought this would get a lot more interest. The fact that you can margin trade and there's derivatives and options all from your hardware wallet now, it really goes around these centralized issues that we've seen, the trouble with exchanges and whatnot. So this is still in the early stages, guys, but DYDX using, Radar Relay, I've done tutorials on, built on Ethereum, using 0x and the Maker DAI stablecoin. Margin trading from your hardware wallet, make sure you check out that video. Finally, fractional ownership. This is the worst possible idea. So MasterCard's saying that we want to patent a fractional reserve system for crypto, guys. I'm pulling my hair out reading this. I cannot believe it. This is what is the root of the problem of the financial world, the debt-based monetary system, fractional lending. Don't even go anywhere near this. Make sure everyone you know knows that this is a bad idea. This is the last thing we want to see happen, fractional ownership. Yeah. Into the positive news. So Backed coming out and saying that we could launch as soon as next week. There was rumors, but I think the 12th of December is maybe the more realistic date. Either way, guys, we have been through a tough 2018. The markets are down 70%. There's light at the end of the tunnel now. SEC actually had a meeting with SolidX, VanEck. A lot of those worries or concerns have been resolved. So we have OTC pricing and trading that's all heavily regulated. There's a minimum buy of around $200,000. This isn't for retail customers. So they can't keep pushing this off and kicking the can down the road when a lot of these issues have been addressed. So highly likely that in the next few months we have an ETF. In the next quarter we have Backed come online. And when all those good things are happening, it's funny that the price isn't moving along with the China news. So the 4-hour chart shows this the best. We've been within a 2% range all week. This is unnatural, as I said before. I'm not sure what this means, but don't panic. If you've been dollar cost averaging, you're not too concerned what it does from here, because realistically, if we just zoom out a bit, guys, it wouldn't surprise me if we did just have $1,000 move, up. If the market says on Monday, wow, China is now legal to accept cryptocurrency, who knows? It can go to $10,000 pretty quickly within a month. Now, if we come out and get some bad news, this pattern that we're in, let's get it on the weekly here, guys. This descending triangle, the chances are that this breaks to the downside, and this would be a lot of people really giving up and capitulating. And I'll just show you one of these indicators. So if you go to volume profile and visible range here, guys, this will bring up where a lot of the price action has been traded. So let's get that back on auto, and a move down here, just right to under $5,000 is where there was a lot of trading. So I think a lot of buyers would step in aggressively at anywhere we get down in this breakdown. So, previous touches, in the past have been good turning points. $5,000 there, and I think we'd see a V-shaped recovery pretty quickly. On the log trend, guys, this is all still a bull flag, really. And if you zoom out, log scale here, look at these, stair steps down, up, stair step down, up. We could easily, over the coming years, careful what you wish for. If the dollar loses value, if central banks have to step in and print more money, the dollar-denominated value of the stock market, your house, Bitcoin, whatever it is, maybe it does get to that 100,000 or a million in the next 10 years. But that's because the dollar has lost its purchasing power as central banks step in and print more money, lower interest rates, and the only really two levers that they have that we've seen them use time and time again. So yes, Bitcoin's pretty range bound there. That's all I've got to say for that now, guys. There has been trading opportunities. We were looking at Nano during the week. They had that upgrade coming, fundamentals and technicals lined up, and thanks to Tim for this great shout out. He followed that trade. He does trade big orders and been able to get 10% without any leverage, even in a market that's been range bound. Some of us have been having the best trading weeks and investing weeks during these past few months. So well done to Tim. He's made some good money this year shorting on the way down. And we love it when the technicals and fundamentals align in our crypto community. So finally, guys, make sure you've got your tax sorted. Check out that bearish case for Bitcoin. Stick to your plan. Trading from your hardware wallet, I think, should excite a lot of you. And there's plenty of good news. Let's see how markets digest this over the next 24 to 48 hours. So hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share these videos around. And thanks for tuning in, guys. Cheers.